Hey everyone, welcome. I am so excited for today's conversation. Joining me is someone who has not only made a huge impact in the Disney and theme park content space, but also has one of the most fascinating career journeys that I have come across. Patrick Dougall is a well-known content creator, host, and entertainment personality who has taken him from vlogging at the parks to interviewing talent on red carpets. He has collaborated with major brands, covered countless fan favorite events, and built a loyal audience through his fun, thoughtful, and deeply authentic content. What makes Patrick's story especially fun is where he started, which is as a skipper on the Jaws attraction at Universal Studios. Since then, he has become a trusted voice in themed entertainment and most recently helped open Universal's brand new Epic Universe theme park, which just opened last month. So, Patrick, thank you so much for being here and congratulations on that momentous moment in your journey in your career.
Yeah, it was definitely a full circle moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine. That had to be so much fun. So, as someone who has built a strong Disney focused platform, how do you think influencers are changing the way that a company like Disney markets itself?
I think, pe especially coming from the millennial generation and the Gen Z generation, is there's a different way people like to be marketed to. And I think with influencers or people just online that people watch and trust, it becomes more authentic instead of like they don't mind being marketed to as long as it's in a way that they can digest
Sure.
and coming from someone they trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with a legacy brand like Disney, like they don't really need the marketing,
Hmm.
like we're all very used to seeing the traditional ads that they have. And, obviously for new movies, you're going to get trailers and things like that. But like at the end of the day, like people know Disney exists. So
Yeah.
it really is that authentic connection that makes a huge difference. So I think, I mean, we kind of just touched on that, but what advantages do you think that creators have over traditional marketing or PR teams when it comes to connecting with the audience?
Yeah, I think just with a lot of influencers before they get into these brand deals or marketing for big companies, it's that creating that authentic connection with that community.
Hmm.
So it's that community that influencers or anyone online has that they come with a built-in trust instead of just marketing. Here's this commercial, here's this trailer. It's more of a kind of a connectional feeling.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, as we mentioned before, you have hosted events and interviewed talent on behalf of Disney and other media brands. So, where do you see yourself in this space? Do you see yourself as more of a fan ambassador, a journalist, a marketing partner, a little bit of all three?
Yeah, I think it's become a kind of a collaboration of all three. I think my favorite thing is what, especially myself and other people who are kind of in this same field, is I've always loved to see fans who are passionate about these properties or these IPs doing these types of things. It's nice to know that someone would have knowledge on
Yeah.
said whatever they're interviewing or being a fan of whatever they're interviewing. So I definitely started off as a fan. I mean, never in my life when I went to college, I studied television and film production that I would fall into this whole new realm of, I guess, media. So I just started out as a fan and then it kind of snowballed from there. But I think being I since started in television and film production, I actually had 5 years of working on sets,
Hmm.
and then kind of it snowballed into, well, I can use now my set experience to do these other things, and slowly become like journalistic aspects as well. So I think it's kind of meld into like these all three things into one.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that you actually do really well because like I mean we've the buzzword for this is we've mentioned authenticity and
Hmm.
you can really tell when somebody shows up to an interview and has basically just heard of the project and doesn't really know anything and like respect, like get your bag, do your thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it makes a huge difference when there is that connection to be able to reference originals or have the lore that that you're bringing to the conversation. I mean, even when you went to the Lilo and Stitch premiere, like committing to the full bit of doing
Oh
the
yeah.
curly drag, like It makes a difference to fans who like genuinely like know and appreciate the moment as opposed to somebody
Yes,
who's just there in, maybe just like a Hawaiian shirt and being like Lilo and Stitch. So
correct.
it feels different. It's got that palpable difference.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, how important is influencer content in driving actual consumer behavior, like park visits or product sales or streaming views?
I think I mean, obviously it's important to the company, but it also depends on what their total end goal is. A
Sure.
lot of times with marketing now, it's like, yes, you want the sales, yes, you want the visits, but it's also about getting the information out there
Mm,
or just uh I'll bring it back to Epic Universe. The first preview I went to Epic Universe was the first time they were allowing footage to be shared out into the world. And
yeah.
basically, they weren't trying to have ticket sales for Epic Universe. They were trying to just do brand awareness of just like a lot of people still didn't know what the heck Epic Universe was. So
Yeah.
they just wanted to get it out there, and it actually blew up way more than they thought. And that was the end goal of that. It wasn't ticket sales, it was just brand recognition and getting the word out there. So a lot of times it depends what the end goal of that is. But I think in terms of influencer marketing, that's a huge part of it is just getting the message out there. And it's easier for like say movies or TV shows because you can calculate box office and stuff, but
Sure.
it's views on a Netflix show or whatever, just getting that brand or message out there is important for them as well.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And for brands like Universal and Disney, we've got legacy brands here. They definitely have their influencers that are brand safe. They're easy to go to. For the rest of the people who are kind of in the influencer world, or I suppose want to have those connections with brands, what would your recommendation be when a lot of the time what people hear is, well, the market's really oversaturated.
Yeah.
So what would you suggest to somebody who still, hey, the market may be oversaturated, but I still really love Disney. I still really love these movies. I still really do want to be a part of this world if there's a space for me. What would you say?
Just create content, be yourself. I started making content in 2010, but when this wasn't a job opportunity, so I was just making it for fun, and it kind of snowballed into that. I know there are people out there now who are like, people are making money, people are getting free things out of this, so I'm gonna just start making content so I can do that stuff. And it's like, if you're doing it for that, then you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Sure.
Um, again, I can't. It's hard now because it's such a big market now, and it's so people see it as just a job and a money thing.
Right.
And when I started back then, it was just a hobby, and it was just something I like doing because I like these things. I like movies. I like going to theme parks. And I like having fun. So anyone who's starting that now, obviously, do it for the reasons that you want to do it for. Like, be a fan of something, rather than what can I get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes complete sense. So, what advice at this point would you give to companies like Disney, or Universal as it continues to work with influencers, especially, in this kind of rapidly growing space? What would you recommend to them?
Yeah, I think I touched on a little is just find influencers who are passionate about what you want to be promoted. Like I am not a fan of, I don't watch anime, but I have a
Mhm.
ton of friends who are like huge anime fans who dedicate their channels to anime. And obviously seeing them doing something for an anime, like hosting an anime carpet, like you want someone again who is knowledgeable on these properties. Like if I've actually been reached out to on a couple of Crunchyroll who does anime to like come to an
Yeah.
anime premiere, and I'm like, hey, thanks so much for inviting me. One, this is not for my audience. I don't. My audience are Disney fans and theme parks fans, so I don't know how much the crossover is there, but I don't know how
Yeah.
much of the
Yeah, but
crossover.
like
So
this much.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it would be to find those fans, find the niche focused creators who are gonna be, first of all, bring the audience because that is their audience, say anime or theme parks. And instead of just like what I've noticed recently is a lot of times and studios are still doing this. They're looking at numbers. They're looking like, hey,
Mhm.
this person has 2.2 million followers, but I'm like, all they're doing is making dance videos in their bedroom. So you're inviting them to a premiere, but they're just dancing on a carpet and give no real insight
Right.
to what is being. I'm like, cool. They got
Awesome dance. We love it.
great, but what was the point? So
Sure.
yeah, I would try to do more research into if you're gonna do it, have influencers help a market is to do more research into that influencer and make sure they're a right fit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes complete sense. I think the other kind of consensus that a lot of the other people I've spoken to have had is just that we still want to see more diversity in these spaces in
Oh
like
yeah.
every aspect. Like I was able to speak to Stephanie from the Plus Size Park Hoppers and
Hmm.
have her perspective on things. So just like continuing to grow that, I think that we've definitely seen some progress, but I
Hmm.
think that a lot of companies are still playing it safe. And I think that there could just be way more people invited to a lot of these events, especially like any of the ones here in Orlando where it's something that's put up in the contemporary or something, where it's
Yeah.
not necessarily always like park access or things like that. There's definitely space to play. Okay, so lastly, where do you see your role, your career going within the Disney ecosystem in the next few years, or really any of these brands that you work with? What's the goal? What's the dream?
Yeah, I mean, initially, again, I started in theme parks. I went to college in Orlando. That's where like I fell in love with everything. I grew up in Florida, so I grew up around the theme parks. And when I moved out to California, I have Disneyland right here. But I've actually been pushing away from theme parks a little bit and heading more towards film, television, and that kind of media. And again, with opening the Epic Universe and hosting that, hopefully, I see my career heading towards more of a hosting and journalistic aspect still in the online space though.
Mhm.
Like I don't know if I see myself like attaching myself to a already established company like an e-news or something like that. I still
Sure.
like doing my own thing individually and just being my own self in terms of these things. But so far it's going great. Have a lot of exciting opportunities coming up, so hopefully like further down the line that'll just continue.
Amazing. Well, I have no doubt that you will accomplish all of that.
Oh, thanks.
So, thank you so much for joining us and answering these questions, and I really
Yeah,
appreciate your
of
time.
course.